दिवाली आई, दिवाली आई। दीपिता छाई छाई, रोशनी लाई लाई, जिंदगी गाई, खुशियां ही आई। होगा ये नया आसमान, ये जमीन, हम तुम मिलकर लाएंगे वो दुनिया यही। हैप्पी दिवाली, हैप्पी दिवाली, मुद्दतों बाद मिले रूबरू ईश्वर से, दिव्य गुण से सजाया हमें, जो मानव से देव बने, जीवन गुलजार बने। अब ना होगा कोई दुखी संसार में, खुशियां ही खुशियां छाएगी बहार में। हैप्पी दिवाली, दिवाली, हैप्पी दिवाली, हैप्पी दिवाली, हैप्पी दिवाली,
Om Shanti, Sister Jayanti.
Om Shanti. Happy to connect with you and all our friends.
And a very happy new year to everyone. I don't know if you know, but today is the new year. And I think every center in their way, some way, has been celebrating Diwali. And we had a program here in Oxford on Saturday evening. And I was in Manchester, so we lit candles symbolically. And I just want to say that the Yagya actually also started on Diwali. And all the Dadis mostly surrendered on Diwali. And so they always celebrate their birthday around Diwali. And I think all of you know that Baba always used to say that there will not be another Diwali. And so we need to make intense effort before the next Diwali. So Diwali has been a rotating theme in our Yagya, but also to say that I feel it represents both the confluence age as well as the golden age. Because Baba says the real Diwali, the real coronation is when it's 111. And that's the world of light, right? Baba said in the Murli, that's really deep mala. And then Jayanti Ben, now like as Baba comes, he lights our light. I mean, the word light, Deepak, is just so symbolic and metaphoric. So,
and I want to remind you that World Service started in terms of the first center outside Bharat at Diwali in London. And then New York also had a center. The first center that started there was at Diwali. And my own surrender to Baba was at Diwali too.
So really following the footsteps of the Dadis. Okay, so what we thought, we would start with this little ceremony. So what we will do is, it's just going to take 2 minutes, but it's like us lighting our candle or light of virtue online. And so my brother Matthias is going to help us, and he's put a link now in the chat. So those of you who are on Zoom can participate. And so what you will do is you will go to this link and you will just type in your virtue. And this virtue will appear as we write. It's called Mentimeter. So as we write, we're going to see which lights light up the most. So if like 10 people put love, then love will appear as a bigger font. So can we all do that? Those of you who are on Zoom? Yeah, lovely. It's happening. Can you put the link again? Yeah. If you just go to the link and do it, then it appears on the screen. Thank you, Matthias, for helping with that. So you could see the prominent one is always love, isn't it? So let us spread the light of love. So Sister Jayanti, apart from whatever you'd like to share about the Murli and news, but also maybe if you have any stories around Diwali, that would be nice. Thank you.
Well, in fact, since I am in Madhuban, a big Om Shanti to everyone who's watching and listening. Just to say that Madhuban is unlimited in all ways. Nothing is in tens or hundreds, it's always in thousands. And so I was just hearing the figures of all the tolis that have been made, and you can imagine multi thousands. And so we had a Diwali celebration in Gyan Srovar, and then in Shantivan, and then in Pandav Bhavan. And today there's another celebration in Manmohinivan. And in between, there was a little celebration in the hospital. And also there's a celebration on the day of Diwali yesterday, in which there was an offering of bhog. And today we had a very lovely gift from Baba for Diwali. And that was a surprise visit. It's been, of course, we knew about 2-3 days ago because there's so much security to think about. But it just happened. Mrityunjay Bhai got a phone call, and so the wheels were set in motion. And so we didn't even have to ask, but it happened. And so the Vice President of India flew in, and he came with his wife, and it was a very lovely, lovely gathering, because he had met Brijmohan Bhai just a short while before all this started to roll. And so I'm sure that had quite a lot to do with it. And he said, a very powerful speaker. He's a lawyer in his past profession, because then he came into politics. But of course, he was speaking a combination of English and Hindi, both very fluent and eloquent. And he was saying that we have many universities where we study everything different under the sun, but we only have one university that is focused on spirituality. And that is what education really needs at this moment in India, but also the rest of the world. And so Brahma Kumari's Ishwari Vishwavidhalaya, can you say that? It means spiritual university, world spiritual university. So that really exists, and it's going to serve the whole world and be a beacon of light. So, the things that sometimes we tell people, we don't have to do that anymore. There are people telling others. So definitely a mic quality soul, very loving and very caring, and just very humble. They'd organized a special chair for him. I don't know where it had come from, but it had the emblem of the coat of arms on the back of the chair, and it was quite elevated. And he saw it and just refused to have it and said, bring me one of those ordinary chairs that everybody else is on. And so that was his first indication of humility and closeness. But the whole spirit of the gathering was really a lot of love. So that happened just today. And he came around, I think, 10:30, and then left from Shantivan at 12:30, so very quick. He came to Avyakt Dham, Avyakt Lok, and had a moment of silence, and his wife and he both knelt down like they would at an altar or something, and offered flowers there. And then he went by helicopter to the top of the mountain to see Dilwara. And I'm not sure what else he saw there, but certainly Dilwara he was visiting. And then they also were talking about a visit to Pandit Bhavan, but I'm not sure that actually materialized, because he then had to fly back to Udaipur in Delhi. So a gift from Baba, because now that the vice president has come, according to protocol, it's easier for the president to come now. So we are hoping that she's a BK, of course. We're hoping that at some point soon that will also happen. Let's see the drama. So certainly service in India has reached not just the top, but also with television and media across the Bharat, everywhere, the villages, the cities all around. So quite amazing. Okay, so back to the Murli. And this was a Deepavali Murli. You're hearing Diwali, which is representative of the word diya, the flame, the light, but that's also called the Deepak. And so you also hear the word Deepavali. And so it means the same thing, but it's both words are very often used interchangeably. So happy Diwali to you all. And Baba's Murli, and sometimes they call Baba Deepraj, the king of all the Deepaks, the king of all the lights, which is a beautiful title for God. And Baba spoke about study to begin with, that all of you as students, all of you get the same Murli, you have the same teacher, you have the same classes, you have the same versions, and all of you study, and now of course it is the same day, In those days, it wasn't yet properly in motion. So Baba mentioned that sometimes you get it on different dates, but it's the same Murli. And yet, although everything is the same, but how come there's a difference in number? And all of you have the aim that you'd like to become number one, but there's a difference between your aim and your qualifications. And in Hindi, these two words go together. Lakshya, the aim, and Lakshya, the qualities, the attributes, the qualifications. And so how come there's such a difference? And then Baba went on to explain that one is to listen to knowledge and to even speak knowledge, but the other is to listen to knowledge and absorb it and actually let every elevated word of Baba's Murli, the truth, the wisdom, be visible in your practical life. And so one is to have knowledge, but the other is to be an enlightened soul. So the one who's actually practicing the things that Baba's talking about, not just understanding them, but practically applying them. Now that is enlightenment. It was a lovely, simple definition of enlightenment. And then Baba was talking about how for some, it's enough just to listen and say, yes, this is good, it's fine. But they don't actually become knowledgeable, enlightened souls because they're not practicing, they're not actually putting it into life as a reality. And so what happens then is that it's the old sanskars and nature that take over. So the foundation that should be there for everything in life, which is Gyan and Yoga, that is missing. And Baba said, the four subjects are all interlinked. And so why should it be difficult for you? And in fact, the foundation of Gyan, of knowledge, that is absolutely simple. Two words, the creator and creation. And that's also what yoga is all about. And that's also what dharana, the practical inculcation, is all about. And so you understand the creator, you know who he is, you begin to have a direct relationship with him. And creation, you are God's first creation. In Sangam Yug, God creates heaven through you. And so the first creation. And within that also, to what extent is that first creation aware of its elevated role and is able to play its elevated role through the drama? And so that's the next creation, of course. The first creation, the deity souls. And so do you remember how elevated you are and how you played an elevated role through the whole cycle? And you know it, but you don't always remember it. And so you go through this fluctuation of remembering and forgetting. And in that fluctuation, it becomes labor, hard work, and effort. And it is within this fluctuation that then you begin to say, well, the sanskars of forgetfulness and the sanskars of weakness are my original nature. And Baba gave an example. You know, if somebody's got a very strong tone, it's a bit forceful, but they use royal language to cover that up. And they say, well, my nature is a bit serious. My nature is a bit official. They use that language. And I don't mean anything, but it's just that the tone of my voice is like that. And so basically, they've accepted that this weakness is their nature and they're going to live with it. And so transformation doesn't happen easily. Even if somebody is giving a signal and saying that this isn't how it should be, yet there isn't any change happening. And it's because it's as if they've accepted that this is who they are, and never mind original, they take this particular nature of theirs to be their natural state. And so it keeps coming up, because whatever is taken to be natural, it's as if there's that sense of belonging, and that keeps emerging in a very natural way all the time. And then there's justification for it. But there's another group, and this other group are the real, knowledgeable, enlightened souls, yogi souls. And what they're doing is making Gyan, knowledge, and yoga become natural in their life, so that the foundation is so strong that it's Gyan that is emerging at all times. Not excuses, not justification, but it's Gyan. And in that state of Gyan, their original divine sanskars are manifest. And so these are the things that are emerging in that way. And of course, knowledge is then with the soul, in the soul at all times, not for half an hour or 30 minutes or 45 minutes or a few hours even. No, it's natural. It's there all the time. And so the driving force within the soul is that of enlightenment, of knowledge. And then on the basis of knowledge, surely you understand the creator, you understand the creation, you understand your relationship with God. And so yoga becomes very natural and easy. Again, no labor in that whatsoever, just easy, alpha and beta, creator and creation. And so yoga, again, is not restricted to a few minutes or for a certain period of time. Yoga is there in a very natural way all the time. And connected with this, of course, is the subject of dharana. And Baba asking a question. If somebody is knowledgeable and is a yogi soul, can you ever say that their dharana, their practical inculcation is weak? It can never ever be weak. It will always be elevated and it will always be strong. It will be moving in the right direction at all times. And then through these three subjects, what happens is that you fill yourself with all virtues, all qualities, all experiences. And because you yourself are then full, then service is automatic and natural. You are the master bestower. God's title is the bestower. But Baba shares all his titles with his children. He never keeps anything for himself. And so today, you are the master almighty authority. You are the master bestowers. And so at all times, because the soul is full, then it's sharing these qualities and it's sharing them with all. And you are the master bestowers. And so that is what service is all about, to be able simply to give others a glimpse of the treasures we ourselves have received from God. And so Baba made service become very stress-free, no pressure, just simply be. And being means then that you're giving and you're able to give, but nothing is lost from you because more comes from the Almighty. And so whatever it is I give, I receive the return multiplied from God, but also from the whole of the human family, whoever it is who has benefited. And so it was explaining the four subjects in this way. And then Baba saying that it's not just one who's going to be number one, but there's the first division. And so don't think that, well, I'm never going to make it because Baba is there already. But no, you can be part of that first division. But you just simply have to make sure that all the things that you have studied are now actually being applied in your practical life. And this is what is going to be visible to the world. And everyone will see that and will feel that, yes, this is something very special. And they'll come to Baba through that. And then Baba spoke about Diwali. It was Diwali. And Baba had a very interesting question. Diwali means the lights, and all of you are the living lights. And the beauty and speciality of Sangam Yuga is that the living lights, the souls, the Brahmins, are seeing their memorial, the earthenware lamps. And as they see the earthenware lamps and light, what else is connected with these lights? They see the moths diving into the flame. And Baba asked the question, have you dived into the flame, or are you going to dive into the flame? And of course, those who were there in Madhban at that time, in October 92, they said to Baba, Baba, we've done it already. We have already sacrificed our lives for Baba. And Baba still went on to say, well, some of you are still circling around. You haven't just dived into the flame, but you're circling. And so what does that mean? It means that you still have your old wings. It means that there's still something attracting you, and it's not letting you dive into the flame. You're being attracted by whatever it is out there. And so make sure that you are the ones who actually are able to dive into the flame. And in that stage, yes, that total sacrifice is what Baba is wanting, because then, yes, the light from the Brahmins, the family, is going to spread out into the world. And as the world sees that light, they will know that it's God's task and God has come. And then Baba spoke to a group, and of course, within that, Baba was very much talking about making sure that you stay happy and content all the time. And Baba speaking to the mothers, and the mothers, when they meet Baba, there was always one question that Baba had for them. Have you become the conqueror of attachment? And if not, why not? When will you become the conquerors of attachment? And so Baba inspiring and encouraging and motivating everyone to move forward and fly forward fast. So a beautiful Murli, taking up this idea of study and only two words that encompass everything: creator and creation, alpha and beta, and everything comes within that. Alpha, the beginning, of course, you're aware, but the end, the next, not the end, the next is beta, and beta is Batshai, the kingdom. And so understanding the whole story of the cycle and how the soul has gone around the cycle and is now at the point where it's ready to go back home. So this is a summary of the Murli, and I'm handing over to Arunaben because I'm not quite sure what she wants us to do now. Thank you. Om Shanti.
You're sounding like Baba when Baba says, and now what do we have to do now? Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
So, Sister Jayanti, yeah, it's very clear what Baba's saying to us today, what we need to do. But maybe we can just delve a little bit into this connection between sanskars and karma. So really my question is then, why are some actions, some habits very easy for some, whilst they are difficult for others? And then as a result of that, we create our karma. So I know you have very deep insight into this about karma versus sanskars and sanskars versus karma.
there are natural instincts from Satyug that carry on through to the end of Kali Yuga. For some, it's purity. For some, it's love. For some, it's truth. And so when you hear Baba talk about Srimat and the disciplines we have to follow and observe, then if, for example, the sanskar that I'm carrying, yes, it's not that pristine purity of the golden age, but to a certain extent, even in this last birth, I have love for purity and I want to have that purity. And so to follow purity becomes very natural and easy. It's the love of my heart. And so it's no big deal for me. And so like with Dadi Janki, when we spoke to her at one point and said that, Dadi, you've always had this big heart in which you've always wanted to serve others and give so much to others. So Baba found a ready-made instrument and you came to Baba with that quality already. And Dadi's reply was, but I didn't have it, but Baba gave it to me last kalpa. And so seed and tree and think about it. Last kalpa, Baba gave it to me. And so I still have it at the end of the kalpa. So her awareness of just simply being the bestower and being able to give at all times, we saw that right till the very end of her physical time with us. And so that was very natural for her just to keep giving. And whether it was her clothes, she would be giving away her clothes, or whether it was her food, she'd be giving away her food. She really didn't keep anything for herself at all. She didn't keep time for herself. She gave that away in terms of service. So purity, love, that sense of service, of giving, we see that in some souls, these are very natural and they're there before they come to Baba because they've lasted through the cycle right till their 84th birth. And so when Baba talks about that particular aspect, it's very natural, it's very easy. That seed is already very clear within the soul. And it's really, everyone is so unique and different and is capable of doing so much, already doing a lot, but also capacity to do more, I think, for most of us. So I think that's where it makes sense to me that some have to work hard for something and for others it's something else. There's nobody who has an easy ride, that's for sure, because everyone's come from Tamo Pradhan and needs to become Sato Pradhan. So that's true for absolutely everyone. But yeah, different aspects of challenges to different people.
So this is my question. So what makes one attracted more to one than another, or how is one able to maintain, like, let's say one loves truth, and so from beginning of cycle to end of cycle, that's the one thing they hold on to. Why does that hold on to truth, another hold on to purity? What is the mechanism there? Is it the experience of what that makes that one feel?
I think it's the strongest quality that they have. It's like, when you're asked about your speciality, no two people will talk about the same thing. Each one has their own specialism, their speciality. In the same way, every soul, the recording that they have is totally different. And so Baba even saying that everybody comes together to Baba. So about 400 souls came to Baba all together at the beginning, and each one unique and different. And so just to say, for example, when we're talking about the three Dadis, all of them have all the qualities, but what shines from Dadi Prakashmani is love. What shines from Dadi Janki is truth, wisdom. And what shines from Dadi Gulzar is silence, is peace. And so last Kalpa, this was the quality that really was the strongest in their life. We saw it. And next Kalpa, it will be the same. So I don't think I can answer your question any more clearly than I have, but I hope you take it in the spirit that it's intended, that there are very specific traits in everyone.
Yeah, it's like we major in a certain.
Yeah, correct.
And when you were talking about giving, so this morning Sheikha was sharing that Dadi was taken to a mosque, probably the Grand Mosque in Kuwait. And beside that, there was that room, that annex. I think you were there, Sister Jayanti.
I was, yes.
Yeah. So the main person, he said to Sheikha, look, we're just going to step in, have a tea, and we have to step out. And we cannot do any funny business. Like we cannot, not start chatting and giving any lectures. And Dadi went in, she sat down, and that's exactly what she did. She started giving a lecture, and they just enjoyed it because, again, it was coming from Dadi's heart and her love, and they just got, very
Influenced.
spiritually entrapped.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen.
Yeah.
So, sorry, yeah.
I remember that scene very clearly. And in fact, when they started asking questions, that made it even more interesting because it showed they were really engaged and that his answers were very lovely. Mm.
Okay, so here's another question. So, okay, Baba said that these strong sanskars have to change, these strong personalities have to change. But what, okay, they can't change, gentlemen. Say, for example, this person cannot change. What should they say to themselves? Not justify, not excuse, but what kind of positive affirmation or slogan they should hold on to for change?
They should remember that they've been picked by God to belong to God. And so Baba has faith in them. Baba sees them as a deity soul. And I just simply have to remember who I am. Do I see myself as a deity soul? And if I see myself as a deity soul, then I know that there's a lot of other stuff that I have to dispense with. I have to shed that load. And then that deity soul will be shining. And if that's deep in my heart, to come back to the Sattva Pradhan stage that I had at the beginning of the cycle, then with Baba's help, I'll make sure that with attention, and it's a daily practice, every day in the morning, to say to Baba, Baba, I really want to become Karmatit. I really want to become that original deity soul. And you'll find that then through the day, circumstances come, people come, there's help available, and things happen magically.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. So maybe connected with that, here's a question. It seems that some souls accepted they are silver-aged, that any more efforts may not help. Is this carelessness or accepting their sanskars as their nature, that nothing more can be done?
While there's Sangam Yug, there's always the possibility of change. This is why Baba doesn't give up on us, the Dadis never gave up on us, and we mustn't give up on ourselves or on our service companions. There's always, always the possibility of change if that's what I want. What comes as a block is where I say, it's not possible. And I have said that. It's nobody else who said that to me. Baba hasn't said that to me. Baba said, come child, come forward, come fly. I'll help you to fly. But I say, and it's, I think, just a depressed state where the soul has tried and it hasn't succeeded, but it hasn't made effort in a way Baba wants it to make effort. But at that moment, it's not even seeing that, it's quite blinkered. I'm here, that's where I belong, I'm not going to move. But Baba's saying that keep studying, keep practicing, keep moving, and the wings of zeal and enthusiasm will grow and carry you to your destination. But it has to be a decision you make now. I don't know how much longer we have in terms of time in which I can say, well, I'll carry on like this for another year, and then maybe next year I'll make such a decision. there'll always be good reasons to postpone things. But instead of postponing, can I say, Baba, I need your help right now. And guarantee Baba will provide that help. Maybe not from this one, maybe from another one, but the help will be there and it will come.
Okay, just to finish this now. So what if you see somebody else who's got very strong sanskars? What should you think or say?
Have a lot of compassion for them and give them a lot of spiritual support. Not that you're making them dependent on you or that there's an attachment bond or anything like that, but you know that they need help. And so is it possible whenever I come across them to give them that drishti filled with compassion and love and respect? And that will encourage them to look at themselves and come back to that higher stage of consciousness, which is their natural birthright.
Which is what Dadi did.
Exactly.
So another question has come up related to this in some way. So what if you're taking directions from one instrument soul and it conflicts with another instrument soul, and not listening to one would mean not listening to the other? So what should I do in that situation? What is
It used to be very easy before because it was very clear that one Dadi was responsible either for that zone, that state, that country, or whatever it was. And now usually there's a team everywhere. And so, yes, it might be not just one idea. Maybe you're getting 3 or 4 ideas and you're all different. And so first is just simply to sit with Baba and to say to Baba, Baba, I don't know the future. I don't know what next is going to come. And can you help me with this? And whatever it is that you need help with, tell Baba. And Baba will give you that help and guide you in a sense that you'll know, maybe it's this one, maybe it's this one, maybe it's neither. But you'll know what it is you have to do. If you have that link with Baba, your own conscience will support what it is you begin to understand today. And then have a very respectful conversation. If it's ignoring the advice of one and taking the advice of the other. So talk to the person whose advice you're not going to follow and say, I sat with Baba and this is the instruction that Baba's giving me. And this is also something that the other sister has said. And so I do hope it's okay with you, but this is what I feel comfortable with. And they might not like it, but if you've been respectful and you've been calm in mastery of yourself, where you're all over the place and your language is careless, your behavior is careless, then why should they bother to give you their attention properly and listen? But if you prepared yourself with yoga, come to a resolution inside and you tell them, you take it to them and you tell them the story of what's going on, then I know that you get the answer and whatever it is you needed to do will happen, and there won't be a big reaction because the other sister also knows that there's somebody else who's her equal, and so she also is learning to deal with her with respect.
Actually, this reminds me a little bit of when someone would come to you and then go to Sadesh Didi with the same question. So we'll move on to miscellaneous questions, gentlemen. So this is another area. If Sister Jayanti can elaborate on what kind of sins are settled here and what kind of sins are settled by Dharamraj if they are not settled in yoga here. So is there any differentiation between what is settled here and what is settled there?
I think it's connected with my awareness and memory. The things of this birth, and especially the things that I've done since coming to Baba, all those things are very, very clear. And Baba said that generally it's up until age 4. So you don't have to think about infancy and whether you pulled your mother's hair or whatever it is you did as an infant, because you did that in unawareness. But from age 4, generally that's the point that awareness is really coming up. And so I remember many of those things as a child, as a teenager, and further as an adult. But I'll also remember quite clearly the things I've done since I've come to Baba. And so yoga, but also good karma, lots and lots of good karma. And that's going to be the way to settle these sins. The sins of the past that have created my sanskars, that really is then just the tapasya that Baba always talks about, the renunciation that I need to have that focus and absolute connection with God. And in that stage, which sometimes can lead to the seed stage, if it doesn't, it's okay. Baba will help you get there. But these are the things of the immediate situation that I can deal with. But of course, even that, maybe I'm not settling it all. Maybe some of that is still floating around and it's the baggage that I'm carrying. But hopefully it will have settled. And then, of course, the things of the past, there's no way I can recollect that. And another very important thing, don't go to past birth people. I've forgotten the proper name, regression. That's why they call it regression therapy. So don't get into that to understand what it is you did last birth and the birth before, etc. Why? Baba's telling me to forget even what happened this morning, or even what happened an hour ago, and definitely a year ago. And so I'm just trying to settle all this. I don't want to add to my load by thinking about past birth, etc., etc. And so the things of the past, I don't know, but I'm going to settle them with the power of yoga. And that is what will change my sanskars. As my sins are settled, then in that awareness, yes, I know that I'm free and there's nothing pulling me.
So yeah, in connection with this then, gentlemen, somebody is asking, which I think is a valid question. So if I have made a very severe mistake in this birth, and then there's the realization that I will repeat that mistake every kalpa, and then that weighs very heavily on the soul. So how to deal with that?
I have to look at it in the present and say, I still have an opportunity to settle that, both through yoga as well as lots of good karma. So instead of wallowing in self-pity and thinking, oh dear, this is going to happen again next kalpa, Baba's given me tools with which to create a beautiful future and destiny for myself here and now, using Gyan and yoga.
Okay, sorry, I thought you had frozen. So this is another question connected with that. Perhaps we're just on this topic today. So when somebody sacrifices themselves at Kashi, and Baba says, you know, they fall into the well, or they used to. So it's a quick punishment for a lot of karmic account. Does that seem to make sense?
Yes. It's I've seen this well at Kashi. Now it's of course covered with a net, and nobody can take their life there. But if you look down into the well, you see a huge number of swords, all at different angles. And I'll use a horrible word, mincemeat. But that's what's happening to the body. As somebody plunges into that well, the body's being cut into pieces like mincemeat. And all the sins, not even some or a lot. The Baba said, all the sins committed up until that point of time are settled. But of course, there's still body consciousness, there's still the old world, and they take new birth, and the old sanskars kick in because they haven't been burnt away by yoga or anything. But of course, that big amount is settled, but a new account of karma starts again immediately.
And here's another question. Are you able to kind of define the different significances of the different types of donations, such as knowledge, wealth, health, or is it just as simple as Baba says, you give knowledge and you're a smart kid the next birth, open a hospital and you're healthy?
I think that that very simple example that Baba uses in terms of Copper Age and Iron Age is very, very clear. You donate knowledge in the sense of you open a university, you open a college, you open a school, whichever it is you do, then accordingly, then yes, you have that wisdom or that clarity, that cleverness, and so on and so on. Health and again, hospitals and so on. And in Sangam Yuga, it takes on a slightly more subtle form in the sense that, say, for example, our wealth is the wealth of knowledge. Our wealth is the wealth of time. Our wealth is the wealth of virtues. And so we are donating all of this. And so you've donated your time. And how do you look at it from a physical perspective? Yes, you just know that in Satyug you'll be carefree. Or even today, if I'm giving my time in a very altruistic way to serve others, then it feels as if time is always going to be on my side. I'm never going to feel pressured by time. And you saw this classically in the Dadis. Dadi Janki, of course, we all know more very intimately. And so Dadi would never look at the clock. And, you know, I'd say to Hansa, you know, somebody just wants 5 minutes. And she says, well, they may want 5 minutes, but I can't guarantee how long Dadi's going to give them. Maybe Dadi wants to give them 50 minutes. And it would happen sometimes like that. And so you're telling me, let me bring this one in just for a few minutes, but you don't know. And so I'd rather you give them another time that's more comfortable for Dadi. And if she feels she wants to give 50 minutes, that's okay. So Dadi was never a clock watcher. She never wore a watch in her whole life. And so she never ever looked at the clock in terms of, she always looked at the clock in terms of traffic control, but she never looked at the clock in terms of sharing her time. And we found that time was always her friend. You know, she might be running late and the plane would be delayed. It would be waiting for her. That happens so often, so many times. And so when we'd get pressured and make her rush, then we'd arrive at the airport and there'd be so much time that she could give a class to the people who were waiting there for her. So it's more subtle. It's not just the external things that we've done in Copper Age and Iron Age. I give my good wishes to somebody. Now that is even more subtle. But what's the return that I get of it? It's the return of a very pure feeling of knowing I've done what is right. And of course, when I have that pure feeling, I'm content with myself, I'm more likely to be able to make others around me more content also. So I think you have to look at Sangam Yuga and our donation in a very subtle way. Money. I'm giving my money to Baba. And then I'm saying it should be for this, it mustn't be for this, it must, you know. No, I've given. That's my creation of fortune, but it's up to Baba. And Baba's responsible from then on how it's going to be used, in what way, and whatever. But my giving has meant that my fortune has been fixed. I don't have to think anything more about it further. So different.
Yeah, that's really nice. Thank you, gentlemen. We really did miss you. And I also just want to say this other story of Mama. So when she went to the platform to catch her train, she would stop to give drishti to each one. And everybody's urging her on, saying, get on, the train is going to leave. But she just took her sweet time and the train waited for her. But yeah, I think I need to take my sweet time. So we will stop here. As I said, thank you so much. I know you've got such a busy schedule, but Jayanti made the time today, and maybe next month again, let's see. But this was one of those novel sessions. But also I want to say that in the beginning, those who are not here, we actually lit a candle of virtue. And so perhaps in this last meditation, you can also be thinking about which virtue, which light you're going to ignite in your soul. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Sister Jayanti, and we'll end with some meditation.
Thank you, Aruna. Thanks to everyone. Om Shanti.